I don't know. Tim Walz is out there talking again.
You say he could fight any Trump supporter?
Yeah, he says he kicked their and they're scared of him because he could fix a truck. Like they're threatened by his masculinity. I know how to fix a truck. That's what he said. Like, do you? I bet you don't.
The lady doth protest too much.
I bet you don't.
I fear.
I bet if I bring a broken truck to you and a bag of tools, you're
Joe Rogan ripped into Tim Walz with savage roast that painted the Minnesota governor as the definition of mediocrity. From his constant waffling and lifeless speeches to his fake tough guy persona and stage photo ops, Rogan dismantled every piece of Walz's carefully crafted image. Instead of a bold leader, Walz came across like a substitute teacher stumbling through roll call while the classroom burned. This wasn't just a roast. It was a masterclass in exposing political irrelevance.
Oh, he believes a lot of wild things. One of them is transgender surgery for people who are under 13.
So for those out there who are wondering, aren't there something else you could be doing or doesn't seem to impact you in your life? This is what it means to show empathy. This is what it means to be welcoming.
He changed the Minnesota state flag to make it look like a Somali flag. You ever seen that?
But our current flag is problematic. I think we all know that. We've evolved into a more diverse state, and I think it's more...
Watching Rogan tear into Walz was like shining a spotlight on a deer. Every awkward habit, every weak decision, and every over-the-top gesture suddenly impossible to ignore. Walz built his career on pretending to be the steady adult in the room, but Rogan shredded that illusion. Behind the Midwest dad act, Rogan showed us a politician with all the inspiration of a microwave dinner. Bland, processed, and forgettable.
Tim Walz, that Tim Walz cocksucker, if that guy got into power, like if Kamala died and Tim Walz, Tampon Tim, was our president, you know how crazy this country would be? That weirdo who puts tampons in the boys' room, and what about our joy? Like he's a complete pathological liar, like a complete liar. Lied about being in Tiananmen Square, lied about being a fucking head coach of a football.
Quick reminder, if you're enjoying this, hit subscribe and ring the bell. Walz loves to lean on his background as a teacher, coach, and veteran, as if that makes him untouchable. But Rogan wasn't buying it. He tore apart the myth that teaching high school geography somehow qualifies you to lead a state through chaos. Knowing the capital of Nebraska doesn't mean you can manage an economic collapse. And coaching teenagers on a football field isn't the same as guiding millions through a crisis. It just means you've yelled hustle up a few times.
Well, there's more than one thing, too, right? He said he was a head coach.
Yeah, he was a head coach.
He was not a head coach. He was an assistant coach, which is an honorable thing. There's nothing wrong with being an assistant coach.
Yeah, absolutely.
And he also inflated his actual rank, right? He was slated to achieve a certain rank.
Right.
And how did it go? Like he had to commit to the fact that he wasn't going to retire in order to achieve his rank? Is that what it was?
He didn't finish essentially the program, the coursework, for a command sergeant major.
Then there's the way Walz handles controversy. He loves to drag out long, thoughtful-sounding answers that end up resembling a high school principal explaining why Pizza Day was canceled. Rogan mocked the endless pauses, the overly careful phrasing, and the hollow attempt at wisdom that ultimately say nothing. Walz doesn't make bold decisions. He gives speeches that feel like wallpaper, bland, beige, and guaranteed to make you tune out halfway through.
But what does it look? Okay, but what does it look like now?
That's what I was trying to get to.
Okay, on the left is Somali flag. On the right is the Minnesota state flag. Okay, same color as Somali flag, a white star, a different white star in it, like the Somali flag. Very different than the original Minnesota flag. And there's the video down below that. That's when he changes it.
When it comes to crisis management, Walz has the instinct of a man fumbling with his phone flashlight in a dark basement. Rogan torched his handling of the 2020 Minneapolis chaos, noting how Walz managed to disappoint everyone at once. Too slow, too indecisive, too obsessed with looking in control while the city burned around him. If leadership is about stepping up, Walz's version looked more like stepping aside and hoping no one noticed. Rogan compared it to fighting a fire with a spray bottle of fauna. Lots of motion, zero results.
That's all it is, obviously. There's video of Tim Walz doing the exact same thing.
Right.
Exact same thing, and he said, of course, it's a Nazi salute. He said that.
debating, having them trying to debate that President Musk gave a Nazi salute. Of course he did.
This is how crazy things have gotten. Like,
it's coordinated propaganda.
Walz's attempts to look tough only made things worse. Whenever pressure mounted, he puffed up his military credentials like a guy at the gym, constantly reminding everyone he used to bench 3 plates. Rogan didn't let him slide. Sure, he served, but that doesn't magically transform today's shaky policies into genius strategy. Walz acts like he's running a bake sale instead of a state. Faced with hard choices, he tries to please everyone, which means nobody ends up satisfied. Rogan compared it to a comedian avoiding edgy jokes for fear of offending. So instead, he spends 2 hours talking about airline food.
That's when he changes it out. So he takes out the Minnesota state flag. Oh, hold on a second. Wait a minute. Turn the volume up, please, so you hear him say that.
All right, ready. Whoa, wait a minute.
So he gets the flag, picks it up, moves it out of the way, and replaces it. Look at this.
There, that's better.
Why is that better?
I don't know.
Why do you care what the flag looks like, first of all? And why do you get to change the flag? How crazy is that the governor gets to change the flag? Like, who else is involved in that decision to change the flag?
Walz's political style isn't about vision. It's about blending into the wallpaper. Rogan tore apart his speeches, which always sound like they've been filtered through 5 committees and a risk assessment team. Walz speaks as if the goal is to use the maximum number of words to say the minimum amount of substance. Rogan called word salad with Midwestern accent, a stream of generic platitudes that could fit into any party platform without anyone noticing. He's got the everyman look, but none of the charm. It's not relatability. It's mediocrity in khakis. Even his policies weren't spared. Rogan roasted his approach to Minnesota's economy, mocking his big ideas as half-baked experiments. Walz loves to preach fairness and balance, but the results often look more like a science project gone wrong.
The fuckers get in charge one more time. I mean, they were talking about cracking down on hate speech online. Like, that free speech is not hate speech. That Tim Walz guy was actually saying that.
I think we need to push back on this. There's no guarantee to free speech on misinformation or hate speech, and especially around our democracy.
Hate speech. Free speech does not include hate speech. Like, what are you? By whose fucking definition? Yours? A guy who thinks tampons should be in the boys' room?
Rogan compared it to watching someone try to build a homemade rocket out of soda bottles. Lots of enthusiasm. Zero chance of liftoff. Even Walz's attempts at inspiration backfire. His speeches on unity and resilience land with the emotional punch of a voicemail reminder from your dentist. Instead of leaving people motivated, they leave them drowsy. Rogan joked that piping one of Walz's press conferences into an airplane cabin could put the entire flight to sleep. No turbulence required. And every time Walz tries to project authority, it feels forced. He doesn't radiate confidence. He radiates the energy of someone desperate to look confident. Rogan compared it to a substitute teacher demanding respect on day one, only for the students to realize by lunch that they can walk all over him.
When they decided that J.D. Vance was weird. Yeah. Remember that one?
And then they just weirds everywhere.
Weird. Oh, you don't want a weird guy. Meanwhile, you have fucking Tim Walz. Is your VP?
Weird.
You don't think that guy's weird?
Super weird.
He's weird in every way.
Yeah.
The way he walks, the way he waves his hands.
Yeah, he reminds me of the clown emoji.
He's a bizarre guy.
He's a strange dude.
I just don't understand why they made that choice.
Yeah, it gives the creeps.
I just don't understand why they made that choice. There's a lot of other people that are qualified. I don't know why. I read that Kamala Harris made that decision when she was sleep deprived, which is kind of hilarious that she said that. So she's kind of admitting
The funniest part, Rogan noted, is Walz's desperate attempt to brand himself as both relatable and competent. He wants to be the Midwestern everyman who also happens to be a brilliant leader. But he's neither. Most people don't speak in focus group platitudes, so he's not relatable. And most brilliant leaders don't spend half their time explaining why they didn't act sooner, so he's definitely not brilliant. Instead, Walz manages to be both forgettable and frustrating. A rare mix Rogan skewer with brutal efficiency. Rogan also mocked Walz's constant dodging of accountability. Whenever something goes wrong, Walz slips into politician mode, blaming circumstances instead of admitting failure. Rogan compared it to a kid making excuses for missing homework. It's never his fault. It's the pencil, the dog, or Mercury in retrograde. At some point, real leadership means owning mistakes, not
because everything that we called misinformation just a few years ago, it's on the front page of the New York Times now that we were lied to.
You can't say that you have one rule for Facebook and you have a different rule for Twitter. There has to be a responsibility that is placed on these social media sites to understand their power.
The New York Times just printed a thing. Turns out we were lied to.
They are directly speaking to millions and millions of people without any level of oversight or regulation. And that has to stop.
Yeah, you lied to us. Yeah. You were a part.
Then came Walz's obsession with photo ops. Rogan roasted how he always seems more focused on being seen, doing something than actually doing it. He's the guy who rolls up his sleeves for a press conference, trying to sell the image of a hard-working leader, when everyone knows a staffer just handed him the talking points. Rogan said Walz has mastered the art of looking busy while achieving nothing, like the office employee endlessly circling with clipboard, spouting generic lines about progress and unity that read like fortune cookies. Compared to Trump's unfiltered rants or Biden's awkward attempts at relatability, Walz comes across like a placeholder, a background character in the political script nobody really cares to follow.
What do you think about Walz's descriptions of his military career? Because there's some issues there that people have. I don't know if he flat out ever said that he served in Afghanistan, but he certainly didn't dissuade people from saying that he was when they were saying he didn't correct them.
Right.
There was things
he didn't, and he didn't.
Rogan also mocked Walz's fragile attempts at national relevance. Every time he tries to step onto the bigger stage, he shrinks. He wants to sound like a heavyweight, but comes off like an undercard fighter swinging at shadows. Rogan joked that Walz trying to impress a national audience is like showing up at a 5-star restaurant with potato salad. It might pass back home, but no one's putting it on the main menu. His contradictions don't help either. Walz sells himself as steady and practical, yet his policies wobble around like a table with one leg shorter than the rest. Even his demeanor became a punchline. He always wears a half-smile, half-frown look, like a man who just remembered he left the garage door open but won't admit it. Rogan joked Walz could announce a natural disaster in the same tone he'd use to promote a bake sale fundraiser. That's not leadership. It's customer service with a governor's seal.
Look at this.
There, that's better.
Is it?
Why is that better?
I don't know.
Why do you care what the flag looks like, first of all? And why do you get to change the flag? How crazy is that the governor gets to change the flag? Like, who else is involved in that decision to change the flag?
I was gonna ask, is that what happened?
I don't know.
Usually it's a big event. They let people pick.
Finally, Rogan shredded Walz's obsession with balance, as if never taking a hard stance is some kind of virtue. In reality, it makes him look like a man permanently sitting on a fence, too afraid to fall on either side. Rogan dubbed him the Switzerland of American politics, neutral, boring, and irrelevant. But his sharpest jab was that Walz is forgettable. He doesn't inspire, doesn't enrage, doesn't even make waves. He just exists. Rogan joked most Americans couldn't pick him out of a lineup of insurance salesmen. Walz isn't the future of politics. He's the background noise you ignore while waiting for something actually interesting to happen. By the end of the roast, Rogan had stripped away Walz's polite facade, leaving behind a hollow figure remembered less for what he did than for how little he mattered. Walz wasn't destroyed with venom or rage, but with the crushing weight of his own irrelevance. Rogan didn't just roast him. He closed a book on him, a book nobody's in a hurry to reopen.